that we were able to impact without question. So thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother. Love you much.
Yes, sir. Excellent, excellent. So we on live. Hey, brother Tafari, if the president pops up while I'm speaking, please let me know. I want to make sure we acknowledge her. This is the last actual session outside of the TA and the one we're going to do on the 21st. But as far as the webinar, this will be the last webinar for us. So I want to make sure we thank her and thank your team, thank your staff for what y'all is doing for the city as well. Brother Antonio, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay, great. Brother Tafari, do you want me to go ahead and start?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, great. So we got about 27 people on right now. We're not going to wait. I just want to thank God first and foremost for this opportunity. I want to thank the Baltimore City Youth Fund for hiring Baltimore brothers and giving us an opportunity to show our expertise, to give us a platform that we can service the community based on what we know and who we know. And, you know, it's just an honor. We have an awesome panelist. And I want to thank Dr. Phil, who was very instrumental with myself and our team of putting these 9 sessions together. We spent months and hours and weeks and days putting this together. So I want to give a strong shout out to Dr. Phil and Andrika and Bilal, who's not on here yet. But just giving a little backdrop of Baltimore Brothers. Our organization started in 2015, directly after the Freddie Gray uprising. We just wanted to do something different in regards to what we were doing before that. We just didn't have a name. We didn't have but you know, we decided to come up with the name Baltimore Brothers. That's who we were. We was brothers born and raised in Baltimore. So we came up with that name, and then we just started, you know, doing more work, and everything was centered around the violence, the killings, the shootings of young men, and unfortunately some women as well. But the goal was to put a dent into that shooting and the killing, and to help our youth out, and really help the citizens of Baltimore out. And that's how we was able to start Baltimore Brothers. And from there, we went inside the juvenile justice system. We went inside of Hickey. We went inside of Cheltenham. We went inside of the schools, went inside of the churches, went inside of the mosques, and more importantly, we was in the streets, you know, where our people are suffering at. So this is an honor for us. And we wanted to go down the line one by one, introducing our panelists. We want to get started because we only have 2 hours, and we know how fast that time flies once we get to talking and rapping and dropping knowledge and wisdom and feedback. But we do want the chat team. We got an awesome chat team. I want to thank Let's Thrive as well. We don't want to forget Let's Thrive and anybody else. I see James, Arma, Kyrie, Zion. We're not going to forget y'all this time. So thank y'all for the support. And then also, we're just going to get right into it. But let me, and Doc, you may want to talk about the TA session as well, Doc. Go right ahead, Doc.
Yeah, because you were freezing up a little bit at the end. Just thank everybody for coming on. We know some of you are on because you're thinking about applying for the youth fund for some of the funds. But we also know some of you are on for networking. So please make sure you're using the chat. Feel free to make comments to each other, to any of the panelists. There will also be people that'll be watching this and therefore also seeing some of the chat information, who are some of the funders who are doing things besides the youth fund, who are co-funding some of these things. And so we see this as a great opportunity to get your questions out there, but also to try to make some connections. And then, as Captain Andrew said Friday, we have a very different format where the presenters today are going to be doing most of the talking. They'll be taking some of your questions and answering them. But on Friday, it's really a discussion with you folks, and you folks having a lead on what you want to be discussed, both asking how we could be helpful in terms of information or making connections. But also, we found in the last couple of weeks, there's a lot of very good discussions amongst you. That somebody's saying, I'm doing something else, and somebody says, well, wait a second, I need to find out more about that. How can I get in touch with you? Because as we always say, you know, nobody can do everything, but there's something everybody should be doing to help our young people get back on a pathway to success. And we're really happy about the people that are beyond here, both the panelists, but also many of you, including the young people that are on this Zoom, to help us understand what are your thoughts about how we can be doing better and how can we be supporting you. So thanks, Captain.
Excellent. Thank you, Doc. So what we want to do, we want to go right ahead and get into it. We want to start with Brother Antonio. Antonio, this is his, I believe this is Antonio, at least second or third time doing one of these sessions. And Antonio has been doing an excellent job. He spent time in juvenile justice as a juvenile. Then God allowed him to come back and help us teach and train the young men. So Brother Antonio, you know, I want you to, you know, basically to just tell the people about yourself a little bit, but on top of that, the time you spent down in juvenile, as a juvenile, as being incarcerated, and then the difference is when you went back to help teach and give back to them young men. And then also right now you're teaching at Excel Academy. Is that right? You in Excel, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So how do I want you to, and this question is directly for you. And I want everybody, I don't want the panelists rushing, because I want these young people that's on this line right now to benefit from our questions. And I want them to take some tools from these conversations, the discussion that we're having. So talk about, Brother Antonio, when you got in trouble and you spent time in juvenile, Cheltenham, Charles Hickey, and then you came home, got yourself together, you know, and then you went back into the juvenile facility, teaching and training. Now you in the schools as well. So talk about that transition and speak to the young people that's on this line right now and let them know, you know, what you went through so that, you know, they can benefit from what you went through.
Yes, sir. Peace and blessings. Can y'all hear me? First and foremost, thank you, Brother Captain Andrew, for allowing me the opportunity just to share a little bit about my experience with the panelists and then with the youth as well. And I pray that they can benefit from something that God placed on my heart that I can share. So, you know, my young experience from the age of 13 to about the age of 18, I've been in and out of the juvenile justice centers from Hickey. I've been in the Hickey Impact Program, as well as on Clinton Hall to Baby Bookings. I was there when they first opened up, when the units still had colors. I've been to Noise when Noise had boys and girls. I've been to Savage Mountain. And I thank God. Well, one of the reasons that I was in and out of these institutions is because I don't have what we're striving to offer these young men, and that is guidance. I didn't have guidance. My father, the man that I looked up to as my father, when I was 12 years old, he was murdered by the police. So my mother, that turned my mother into a revolutionary. And that turned my mother into a person that, you know, started fighting for justice. But I never thought that the same place that I was incarcerated in, the same juvenile systems that I was incarcerated in, that I would be allowed to go back into these institutions to share my experience. So that was truly a blessing to me. And what I found out by studying myself and my experience and studying the youth, I found out that what I was missing was love, knowledge of myself, training, vision, and an example. And if you add all of that together, that equals reform. And then when you add reform plus resources, that equals success. So one of the things that I had as a young man coming up was an identity issue. I never seen a man, so I didn't know how to be a man. I didn't have brothers bringing me to a recreation center, or I didn't have no one to visit me to teach and train me with a suit and a tie on. So by the grace of God, when I begin to see men, I'm gonna share this with the young brothers on here. A brother hit me on Facebook, and he said, brother, you used to be wild. He said, what happened to you? Then I shared with him the guidance that I received from my teacher. Then he was like, man, I'm saying though, man, well, I'm not trying to hear none of that, man. You used to be wild. I said, listen, I never thought that I was wild. I said, I thought that I was keeping it real. I said, now that I know what real is, I never want to be fake again. He said, man, that's deep. So when I first started the process of becoming what is called reformed to civilized, it was a drawn out process, but I needed constant training. Brother Captain Andrew, he can tell you firsthand, because he is one of the men that is totally instrumental in the reformation. When I first started wearing suits, I used to have on a white suit with a black shirt underneath. And the brother would say, man, listen, you can't put on a suit with a white shirt and a black t-shirt underneath. I said, check one, got that. Never had on a black shirt underneath a white shirt again. And then I would have on these baggy suits. I was just happy to finally strive to be civilized. But then I would have on a suit with some Nike socks. And brother was like, listen, bro, you can't wear no suit with some Nike socks. You got to get dress socks. So that was the example. So I started wearing dress socks. Check two. And then I would look around and I would see the brothers, they would have, I don't have none on right now, but sometimes they would have these cufflinks. But the brothers that I was starting to surround myself around was beginning to be a good example. The way that I'm speaking now, I didn't speak like this. Every other word was fuck you, excuse my language. F you mean, niggas ain't trying to hear that SHIT, right? But I had an identity issue. I never met a man, so I thank God for allowing me to go back into these institutions and to deal with some of our young men who we call criminals. And we know a criminal is just a person who have committed a crime. But the essence of a criminal mindset is a person that have lost the knowledge of themselves and is living a lower life of existence. So to fix that problem again, I would say, we need love. We need vision. We need a knowledge of ourselves. We need constant training. And we need an example. And that's one thing that I was blessed to get. So I thank brothers like Brother Andrew, Muhammad, Brother Carlos Muhammad, this brothers that was like Dr. Bunley, this brothers that was instrumental in all of the programs that I was going to that was instrumental in my growth and development. And the last thing, because I don't want to draw this out, but one of the things that I knew and that I felt in my heart, and I learned that we have to be 100% dissatisfied with our condition in order for change. And I was 100% dissatisfied with being wrong, with being in the streets, and with doing wrong. So that contributed to my change and what I'm doing right now. So I thank God. I go all over the city, all in the schools, and I give back. And I love what I do. So thank you, Brother Cat.
Let me see that. That was beautiful, bro. Man, thank you, man. Now, hey, Antonio, when you speak back again,
Yes, sir.
you was going in and out a little bit, and the people
Yes,
they
sir.
have to hear what you're saying.
Okay.
So I don't want nobody to miss one word of what nobody is saying. Now we can't afford to miss one word. And this
Yes,
is
sir.
also being recorded. So it's very important that we hear this right here. I think, I say this with humility, but this is one of the most important ones. But I want to go to Corey next, the president of WeOS. And Corey spent time at Hickey, spent a lot of time in West Baltimore, North Baltimore, South Baltimore. So Corey, I have a direct question for you, Corey.
Yes, sir.
And actually, it's right in your lane. So Corey, no one, and also he's a pastor of Great City Church. So I thank you for that. No one can do everything, but everyone should do something. What are some of the challenges of organizations collaborating to support our young people in need, and how we can better work together?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brother Cap. I think, I have a unique periphery in which God has blessed me to see children from the criminal justice system all the way to the education system, to the counseling system, all the way to the streets of Baltimore. And so I have a unique perspective on this. And one of the things that I think is important about this is everybody doing something, but it's important that when we're doing something, that we understand that it is a collaborative work and everything that you do is connected to something else. I think the mistake that we make oftentimes is that we meet a person where they are and we identify with them where they are and we begin to try to do work where they are. But everybody has a history. There's a medical history, there's a family history, there's an educational history. And if you don't bring those things together, then guess what? You're going to give them the wrong thing because you don't have the whole story. One of the number one responsibilities of us, as Brother Antonio just stated, is that someone came in his life and reshaped his story. But we can't reshape people's story if you don't understand it's a collaboration that goes on. So you have to identify what part of that story you play a part in and beginning to shape. Is it medical? Is it family? Is it education? Because when all of those things come together, then we can begin to make the necessary steps. Again, the theory behind this, and Brother Antonio hit it, but let me give you some theory behind it where I think is important. That when anxiety comes, we go back to what we practice and we go back to what we were modeled. That's all Brother Antonio said, is that when anxiety comes. Now, why that's important, because we can have an idea of the right thing to do. And when things are not stressful or things are healthy, then we can do those things. But when the stressors of life, when my home is not right, my educational system is not right, I go back to what was modeled and what I've been practicing. Let me come get you. If I don't care how good of a basketball shooter you are, they know that Steph Curry is the best shooter. But if I can create enough anxiety, then guess what? Steph's shot is going to be off. Well, let me come get some young people today. Listen, if you need to understand that when you are stressed out, anxiety comes in your life, you got to have a practice. You got to have a people in your life that can bring you back to get your shot right. Right. Y'all with me, young people? You got to have a place where you go to get your shot right. If you are a golf player and your golf swing is back, you go back to the range and get your shot right. Well, that's the question I have for people who want to serve kids. What part are you going to play to help young people get their shot right? What part of you? Because it's again, let me push another theory, is that most of our young people are struggling with Maslow hierarchy of need, which means, is it safety? Mm-hmm. Is it their physical situation? Is it love and belonging? And then we got to move them to a place of self-actualization. If those things, where you fitting in that? And then the other part of it is, and let me talk to the young people, just because you touch the system doesn't mean it's over. Let me tell you something. And one of the things I loved about where I was, and am I going too long, Brother Cap? Because this oozes out of me, and I just love this. Oh, I'm good. Okay, so this is the thing that I think is important. I had the honor and privilege to work at Charles Hickey School with one of the greatest men that I've ever met, which is a man called Boyce Mosley. And what he did that changed the way I looked at the system as a whole is, he said, and I'll never forget, he said, we got to stop treating the system as a place of criminalization and instead of a place of transformation. He said, this can be a place of transformation, but the problem with you all is you trying to fix behavior. I didn't understand it, y'all. I was so confused. And then one day, Boyce Mosley walked in the room, and this is what would happen at Charles Hickey School. Every time kids don't want to get an education, they act out, they restrain them, and they send them back to the unit. And then that way, they don't have to go to school that day. And so that would happen. And all of a sudden, Boyce Mosley came and he got hired, and he didn't attack the behavior, he changed the system. He said, I don't care what you do. I don't care what happens. Let these kids, if you restrain them, restrain all of them, but don't take them back to the unit so that they can learn something. I don't care. Something is going to land on their ears. So for the first week, y'all, it was about, if we had 200 people, it was 200 kids on the floor learning. By the second week, they had a choice either to learn on the floor or learn in the chair. By the second week, kids were learning in the chairs. By the third week, it would look like a real school. And what am I saying to us today is that he didn't attack the behavior, he attacked the system. And he began to make the school a transformation system where kids are going to learn. And my question to the people who want to help out with kids, how are you creating transformation systems that's not just a place to house criminals, but a place where kids can be transformed by changing the system? Kids are going to act out and have problems when those three historical things are not in place: medical, education, but the question is, how do we make this place a system of transformation? And I believe that we can do that, not starting with the juvenile justice system, but then each step when they come home, that step is a transformation system with a job. For not just a job, not only do they have a job, they have a mentor, somebody walking the run. Not only do they have a mentor, they have someone that's walking them through the job door. And even when things don't go well, they have someone to follow up with them. So it starts this whole idea of transformation. So I don't want to keep going, but is that I covered? I think I answered the question, Kat.
Man, you did more than answer the question. No, that was awesome. I appreciate that, Pastor. And matter of fact, you reminded me what Brother Antonio said in regards to he just needed guidance. He just needed a man. He needed somebody just to help him, somebody to show him what a man looked like, and responsibility, accountability. And I mean, and you laid it right out, even going back to, your mentor, Mr. Mosley, who Northwestern. And I have to echo what you said, man. He was a strong leader, and he cared enough about our children that he would stop and talk to you and correct you at the same time. That's the kind of man he was, And when I see him, I went the other way. I went the other way. Yep. So thank you for that, Pastor. So yeah, we're gonna keep it moving, and we're gonna go right to I want to go to Mr. Robinson, the principal at Juvenile Justice. And Mr. Robinson, when you come on, I want you to let the people know how long you've been teaching and training, your background, et cetera. But he has one of the toughest jobs as far as a principal that I know, especially being with young men and being incarcerated. I can remember this time that I spent down there, and Brother Carlos was working with Mr. Robinson. And basically, that it's not an easy task to teach young men who really can read, who really can write. And then on top of that, we asking them to learn and sit down and listen why they incarcerated. And then you got to explain to them the benefits of the education and why you should learn how to, divide and do addition and subtraction and learn comprehension skills. So I just want to thank Mr. Robinson for his sacrifice, and then also, spending time, with us, because I'm quite sure if he didn't work today, he worked yesterday, but he has a tough job. So I want to thank you, Mr. Robinson. Go right ahead, sir. And let me give you the title as well, a reminder, because it's really right in your lane. Youth involved in a criminal justice system. That's right in your lane. So go right ahead, sir. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Yes, I've been in education for 28 years. I served as a teacher, a phys ed teacher in elementary school, a dean of students in the middle school, an assistant principal at Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. I founded a school in Baltimore in partnership with Johns Hopkins called Baltimore Talent Development High School, had a lot of success there. And as a result of the success I had there with that turnaround model, I worked at Johns Hopkins for 5 years, running the principals networks, where I was responsible for providing training to principals using the turnaround model of Diplomas Now and talent development secondary curriculum. And now I am the principal of Baltimore City Juvenile Justice Center. I've been there for going on 5 years. In my 5 years there, my staff has managed to help 43 students earn a GED since I've been there. It's a difficult job, but the students there they're in need of more than just academic. It's the non-academic needs that need to be addressed in the facilities. First of all, we can talk about the training. The people who spend the most time with the students are the RAs, and they receive the least amount of training in terms of social and the medical, and the social and emotional and mental needs of the students in terms of addressing them. So they're with the kids, and at that point, that's a missed opportunity in terms of helping the youth right there. Second, in terms of the youth, and there's not enough programming. I believe that detention is a short-term, it originally was designed for a short-term commitment, but now because of courts being backed up, the number of youth that are incarcerated, kids stay there, 3, 6 months, 7 months. And without that program that is sitting there, picking up bad habits, not being transformed or reformed, in your words, Captain Antonio. So there's not enough programming happening. The education piece is the programmer right now, but however, we're responsible for the academic piece. Of course, as teachers, we all had a teacher that did more than academics, and we do have teachers like that on staff, who help kids. Once they leave, they give them the numbers, help them get jobs. But again, there needs to be some programming that happens in school and out of school, so the kids are not on the units playing cards, things of that nature. I'm not saying that that's all they do, but however, I can speak personally that I have noticed a big difference when I was there. When I first got there, there was the boys club that was in the facility. Those guys did a lot of good work, and they're no longer in the facility. I believe they're coming back, but they need programs like that where the kids can work on conflict resolution, some restorative stuff. Those things are missing, and those are big components to help the kids transition back into community. And then also the other big piece is that there need to be a connection with the community. There is a transition unit, and I'm not saying that they're not working hard, but I do think that there needs to be a more cohesive, collaborative transition unit in terms of when the kids are leaving. You just can't have a kid be in juvenile justice where there's all structure, everything's laid out for them, to go to no structure. So there needs to be some structures in, like I always call it like guardrails. They're driving, but they need guardrails to stop them from running off the road, Let them be on the road, but with guardrails until they're able to drive without those guardrails. So those are some things that need to happen. And those things are not, impossible. We have a lot of smart people, and those things can be done. But I am really happy to be there. I call my students the kings. I only let them call me Mr. Robinson or Principal Robinson. I do not use foul language. Some of them may use it at me, and I don't. I come back later and they apologize. It's just the way. It's just about building relationships, and I always tell them that I said you're in here, and you have nothing but time, and you're wasting time. So, that's deep. I said, you're in a place where you have nothing but time and you're still wasting time. So I tried to point that out to them and just give them opportunities. Cause like right now they're asleep and, everyone wakes up at their own time and, you try to nudge them, point them in the right direction, provide opportunities. Some of the things that we have done is that we have brought in apprenticeship programs. So the kids are aware that, there are opportunities for them once they get out, if they can just pass an Algebra 1 test, that they will earn $15 to $18 an hour. They will, we bring in those kind of things so they can, have opportunities. But again, the training piece for the staff and the collaboration between the justice system and the community in terms of providing guardrails once these youth are released.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Man, that was beautiful. And then I'm gonna ask a couple questions for you when we come back to. Thank you for that. And also, you spoke about the boys club, and then you spoke about the young men not just needing structure as in everything structure as in control, because they're already in a controlled environment, and it's just more than them coming in from an academic standpoint. They got other issues. So I'm just thankful that you are there, because it takes a certain person, a certain individual, to genuinely care about them young men. I mean, because you can make their lives difficult if you want to, especially if they're using foul language in your space.
My thing is that I see them as my kid, because I know if I had a son in there, I want people to treat them well. Everybody makes a mistake, so that's how I tell them. I view them as they're my kids. So and I don't want anybody treating my kid and saying things like that to my kids. And kids, that's how until they see you, and you have to be very firm and fair and consistent. And once they realize that you're real, it's funny that the Antonio talked about the dress. So I allow them to see me in different clothes. And it's funny, they say, Mr. Robinson, you look like a dealer in a sweatsuit all the way up to a lawyer in a suit. So I let them know that you can be flexible and verse. And so they see me in those different lights. And I try to be a role model for them like that. I tell them I'm responsible for toilet paper all the way up to graduation.
Yeah, listen. And for the guys who don't know, I know you are very sincere. Can you hear me? I know you are very sincere. I hear your passion. And honestly, this is the first time we talked on a Zoom and, this in depth. And when the man is sincere. So once again, thank you. God, and I believe this, God has you there for a reason, bro. I believe that. So thank God for you, bro. I'm glad you're there. And God is with you. So the next individual we want to introduce is my guy who Mr. Robinson was talking about. Because if it wasn't for him, at Boys and Girls Club, who hired me and our guys, we wouldn't have been down there doing the work what Mr. Robinson is talking about. And absolutely, yes, sir. We are coming back. But it's Baltimore Brothers, not Boys and Girls Club, who was there and originally in regards to the men. But of course, we took instructions from Mr. Stanton, who was a very humble guy, let us work, didn't get in our way, and actually expanded the work that we was doing. I have a lot of respect for this guy. He's been doing his work for a long time. I know his entire family. His family is well educated, but he's one of them guys, he's boots on the ground. And what he does, he don't have to do that. But I want to introduce Mr. Stanton and talk about, Mr. Stanton, the work that we did, the work that you did, the work that you're still doing, and then also the young men that's incarcerated and what work, what needs to happen from your point of view, and then how we can better, help Mr. Robinson as well as Mr. What's my guy, Mr. Shipman as well, who's still right there doing the work right now. Go right ahead, Darius.
Peace and love. First and foremost, I want to thank the Creator, Allah, our good and righteous ancestors, all good, positive, and life-producing forces. I'm so grateful to be with you all today because we all need love. And what this represents for me is love. God is love. I'm so thankful to be here with brothers like you, Brother Andrew. I know that everybody can appreciate this, but I love this brother and would leave my family with him. That's how committed I am to him and he to I, because we both love God and our people. And so it's very important that we recognize when people love you, how you should treat them. I want us to remember a few things. I'm going to work to address our young people as well as the people who are working with our young people. I'm so thankful that you all have decided to be in part of this work because we are in the life-saving business. And I say that because without people like Brother Antonio talked about being in their lives. Was he talking about the same Mosby that Mr. Mosby, Andrew, Captain?
No, different print. No,
Okay.
no, different. Yeah, different.
Right. But without having people in your life that step in to be there, to show you a different way, the brothers on the unit, Brother Antonio, we would come in, some of us would come in sweatsuits, some of us would come in, suited up to the nine, but we always were clean. Whatever we had, it was organized. The few brothers with natural hair, dreads, locks, and a few brothers clean shaven, but when we came in with a certain order and a presence. It wasn't about our titles and our egos. We left all that in the door. We walked on the unit. We said, we spoke first with the greeting of peace and love. And after we speak, we sit down in their unit. Now we there to do group or program because before we got units of our own to work with, we had to go on their units. So we would go on the unit and we sit down. And when they finally like, yo, who was that? And they would say, oh, that's the brothers, from the boys club. What they want? They want rap to y'all. Oh, okay, what's up? What y'all want to talk about? We were in their space. We respected them first. And we said, the first thing we said to them after we said peace and love is we demand respect, but we demand it by giving it to you. And that's how we treated them from the very beginning. And so as a result of that, in 12 years, I think amongst in our presence, there was less than 3 fights. I don't even know. I'm only saying 3 because I only know of one. And so I don't want to tell a story, you know what I'm saying? But the reason being is because we had created a culture, an environment, like the brother Bond said, we changed the system and we changed it by modeling the behavior. They would walk in and they would look at us, they'd be like, yo, I ain't gay or nothing, but them some nice cufflinks. Yo, I some nice cologne you sport. What's the name of that? Just off the vibe. And the beautiful thing about what Brother Robinson said, and it's so true for the organizations, is we have to be healed. This is spiritual work. We're all still healing. We are wounded healers. I learned that from a sister named Reverend Dr. Renita Weems out of Vanderbilt University, a sister at a conference when I was like 21 years old. She said her sister, she was a preacher. This was AIDS that first came out. She said her sister was dying of AIDS, and it was a whole shame thing. She said, I'm crushed, but I still got to heal people. And whatever we go through, you know, whatever our story is, you know, for the young people, nobody else lives on your street. And one of the things that we witnessed was we have got to tap people where they are and help them release that pain and let them know it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to let it out. I was with this B. Gaddy's daughter. It was 15 young people. It was a summer program. It was the last day and they invited me to speak. 15 out of the 8 letters that came back, it was 13 females. 7 of the letters, or 8 of them, said, and other people wrote them and then they shared them around with each other without their names on them. I'm glad that I didn't die when I tried to drown myself. I'm glad I didn't die when I tried to put the bag over my head. I forgive myself for not stabbing, for not dying, you know, when I slit my wrist. The worst, in addition to the pain and the fact that you even knew that these young people were going through this feeling, that they felt so bad, none of them cried. And the reason why none of them cried is because they couldn't even show that emotion. Because they, even with the girls, because if they showed that emotion, they would show some form of weakness. We had to go outside. We were so, the adults, we were devastated. And they were living with this every day. And so in the boys club, we had to bring in and create an environment of healing. And so we must train people. And the reason why, and I'm gonna just keep it 100, the reason why when I called Brother Donald at the Nation, because I knew I could call somebody I could trust to deliver real men who did not have fear of their own people and a mindset that they were gonna treat and judge other people. And the other thing was, I knew that their spirits would be working towards getting together because they was coming out of the Nation. And it was the healing and the healthy spirit. Even none of us are perfect, but the fact that we working towards bettering ourselves, we can explain what we're going through to the extent that we can. And so creating that and then training is so important. We cannot dismiss training. When you send people into an environment that they're not prepared for, today you can cost them their lives and you can cost other people their lives. One of the reasons why the uprising was limited to the Sandtown, Winchester area to the extent that it was, is because of the relationships that the brothers had well beyond me being there the 3 years that I was there, but into the 12th year, because they had already a relationship with mostly everybody that was out on the street getting in trouble. So when it came down and they went out on the street and the brothers hit the street, they already knew, oh, that's Cat, or that's this person, or that's Brother Carlos, or that's Brother Andrew. They already had relationships. It was relationships that kept the city from burning. It was not anything else that was really, because it was, if you think about it, Baltimore City got guns all over the entire city. That whole place could have, Cherry Hill, Greenmount, you name it, wherever it would have been, Edmondsonville, it would have been lit up. And yeah, children would have died, young people would have died, but it was the relationships. And so it's important that we train people and don't be in a hurry because of the grant and the money to get people out there and put them in the jam, because the money will get you caught up. That is not the focus of this work. If it is, do something else. I'm blessed to have a family and a wife that's worked with me. You know what I'm saying? When I'm doing this for free, when I'm doing this for pay, but this is not the kind of business that you get into if you are not serious about it, because it can cost us our lives and our children's lives, because they smell the fear. They smell they smell the disingenuousness. And I'll close on this. It is so important that we pay attention to our young people's health, right? And what we feed them, and pay attention to look at every, there's a study, I talk about it all the time, that was done by the health department in 2009. And it talks about juvenile violence and homicide. But from the health department, in that study, it explains where homicides are, they're liquor stores. Where they're liquor stores, they're homicides. Where you don't see a concentration of liquor stores, you don't see a concentration of homicides. You don't see a concentration of shootings. And so as a result of that, you have to pay attention to what our children are eating, the foods that that if you look at what the lead poison in the food, the water, the paint, and then alcohol, and you see the connection between fetal alcohol syndrome. It's not crack babies that we're dealing with, it's alcohol babies, because they're swimming in the egg. And young people, when we drinking and we smoking and we thinking that, you know, I'm just having fun, I'm having cool. Let me just tell you, we did that, but it's not the same thing. It is at a different level, and it can cost you your life just like that. So I encourage you to be prayerful and spiritual, because you're going to have to find a way to, even when you're surrounded by other people, to sustain yourself. And you can do that through saying your prayers and meditating and just manifesting what you want. Thank you. Peace and love.
Oh, peace and love. Beautiful, brother. As always, I forgot you coined that too. Peace and love. That's what we always said when we went inside them on them units. Everybody in the whole unit was saying peace and love because of you. So let me give you a little bit of credit too.
Well, you know, I give credit to God, man. You know,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because that's who gives us to use us as a vessel. You know, and I'm just the thing that I'm excited about is there are young people on this call who are going to become leaders, because we have to train. We got to train them. We got to get them prepared. Real. And that's what real. Brother Antonio, thank you, man, for being the example you are, and Brother Shipman, the work that you're doing. You know, Brother Robinson, all of you. I really appreciate you. Brother Barnes, thank you so much. Peace and love.
No, you good, bro. Come on, man. We're a team. And I also want to give a strong shout out once again, because they listening. They in the chat room. Let's Thrive. And it's a couple other young people that's on the line, a couple other youth, teenagers. I'll shout y'all out in a minute, but I want to give a strong shout out to them as well. And then also, once again, I can't forget the Baltimore City Youth Fund for allowing us this opportunity, and of course Dr. Phil as well, from who's a professor at Johns Hopkins. So we want our last panelist who haven't had a chance to speak yet, Mr. Robert Shipman, who me and him been in countless meetings, Zoom calls, and I have to be honest, you know, Mr. Shipman, the spirit have never changed. You know, always been very helpful, always been very sincere. And it's always about our young people trying to make a difference. And so, Mr. Shipman, I want you to basically just give the guys a background, who you are, the work you've been doing for all these years. And then also, I want to drop this one question on you so you can get right into it. I'm not going to interrupt you. Is what can community groups, city schools, and other agencies do, or organizations do, to prevent youth from coming down DGS or getting involved in adult system? So if you need me to read that back, I can. But basically, the goal is what can the people on the organizations on the outside do to have them from coming back down there, from seeing you and Mr. Robinson? Go right ahead, Mr. Shipman. Go ahead and introduce yourself first, please. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brother Andrew. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and to be a part of this venue and all the speakers tonight. It's truly an honor to be amongst folks that have such a passion to do the work that we do in working with juveniles and working with families here in Baltimore City. I just would like to say that I'm from New York. I'm from Harlem, New York, which is very similar to Baltimore. For those of you out there that know anything about New York City, the comparison is pretty much the same. I came here to Baltimore back in '95 to work for a program. It's called the Choice Program. You may have heard of it before. I came here, one of my college buddies was working for Choice, and he knew that I was in New York doing some work, working with young people, and he felt that that I would be a good fit for the Choice Program. And so he presented the opportunity to me, and I took advantage of it. And you know, the rest is history. I came from New York and started out at Prince George's County working for Choice. And then after leaving, transitioning from PG County, I was in Baltimore, South Baltimore, actually in Cherry Hills, where I started and when I came to this area in Baltimore City. So I've been with Department of Juvenile Services now for 22 years. I did a lot of different things prior to DJS, did some teaching, worked in employment opportunity programs, job readiness programs, that sort of thing. So I did a variety of different things. But I hang my hat on my work with juvenile services. You know, I remember my days starting out as a PO, as the young people call us, POs, probation officers, and all the work that I did during my time as a PO. I used to work in the Ricestown Plaza office, which is right off Ricestown Road. This was before BCJJC was even built. All the court proceedings and the lot facility was at Mitchell Courthouse. That's where everything took place until we built BCJJC, which is now the hub for juvenile services and for all our other stakeholders, such as the State's Attorney's Office, Public Defender's Office, DSS, and several other entities. But I think, you know, for me, there's been a lot that's been said tonight, and I think it's very challenging to be the caboose, to be the last person to speak when so much relevant information has been shared tonight. And I would just say that what I'm seeing right now is very problematic. It saddens my heart to see what's going on in our communities here in Baltimore City, and all the young people right now that are being charged as adults. That's something that's an initiative right now that we're working on in juvenile services. You guys, if you only knew how many young people, and I'm saying 15, 16, 17-year-olds that are charged as adult with serious charges, it's heartbreaking. And so with that being said, I remember when I was a probation officer, I think the worst cases I had may have been maybe armed robbery or CDS distribution, but the stakes are so much higher now, and it's very alarming. And so, you know, it's like I have to step up my game, if you will. I have to dig within myself and really make myself available and do everything that's absolutely required of me in order to help young people. And that's something that I've always done, but now it's got to be done to a higher degree. There was a lot of things that was said tonight. I think we have to work collaboratively, right? The Department of Juvenile Services, we can't do it alone. We have to work with our partners, particularly our community partners, like Baltimore Brothers and a host of many other community-based programs that operate in Baltimore City. We have to rally together. We can't do it alone. We can't work and operate in silos. We have to work together, okay? And so it's been very challenging in dealing with the crime that is currently taking place in Baltimore City. But I won't give up. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue to press forward. I'm going to continue to reach out to our community partners in hopes that I can align myself with programs that are willing to do the work. Again, some things that were said. To me, this work is a calling. All right, this isn't a job. This isn't 9 to 5. Okay, this is a calling. And if you don't have the passion to work with children, if you're working in this line of work to collect a paycheck, then you need to go elsewhere, because this is not for you. I can think of countless times of all the work that I put in working with young people. Never got a pat on the back, or rarely got one, I should say. In other words, sometimes, you know, you don't get recognition for this work when you do it, right? You know what my recognition is when I see a young person, I guess like a guy like Antonio, who it tickled me to death when he said he was at the Hickey Impact Program, because that was during my era when I was a probation officer. What tickles me is when I see one of my clients, my former clients, that's now a young man like a guy like Antonio, and say, Mr. Shipman, remember me? And then I got to look at them because, you know, they're older now, and I got to look, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I remember you. He was, and clients would say, yeah, I remember when you used to tell me to go to school and stuff like that, you know, and to me, that's my reward, you know, that's my reward to know that a young person can come to me now as a young adult and say that I tried to help them, that I poured into them. And so that's the reason why I do this work. But I'll end by saying what we need to do, the family dynamic is broken. That's the problem right now. Young people, they don't come, and Antonio touched it, young people don't, when these young guys turn 13, 14, 15, and they start committing juvenile acts, juvenile delinquency, this is something that has festered over time. They're not born juvenile delinquents, okay? These is things that have happened over the course of years. And it starts in their own homes where there's a lack of nurturing that's going on. How so many of our young people, their basic needs is another, I think it was Antonio, someone mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Your basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter. When you're a young kid, you can't provide that for yourself. A baby can't feed him or herself. A baby can't dress him or herself, right? That they rely on a parent. Parents have to do these things. Parents have to take care of their children, and they have to train them up in the way that they should go, all right? And so when families are lacking in that area and they are unable to take care of their children for various different reasons, the end result is that you have children that are not provided guidance. There's something else that was said tonight about a lack of guidance, a lack of role modeling. You know, I was thinking how when I was younger, I was fortunate to have my parents in the home. And like I say, even though we grew up in Harlem, I grew up in the projects. But I used to watch my mother cook in the kitchen, right? My mother used to cook for us every day. Maybe Friday or Saturday was the only exception, but we used to get home cooked meals, right? And so I used to just sit in the kitchen and watch her as she would prepare meals and stuff like that, you know? And so my point is that as children, we emulate what we see in our homes. All right. And so if there's no one in the home to show you these things, to teach you these things, how to cook, how to prepare a meal, how to wash clothes, and how to take care of yourself, then how do you expect children to know these things? How are they supposed to take care of themselves as they grow older? You see what I'm saying? And so it has to start with the family dynamic. And so that's what's really fractured right now. And so, you know, my hope is that that we can really get into the homes of our young people and the families and really offer the support that they require and that they need, so that we can somehow break the cycle and try to turn this thing around. Because right now it's very grim, but I still have hope. I'm hopeful that we'll have some community providers that's going to roll up their sleeves and continue to go out into the community, knock on the doors, check on children, check on families, do everything humanly possible to help a child and a family. And if we do that along with some of our other community, other organizations like a DSS or Baltimore City Public Schools, if we all can work collaboratively together to tackle the challenges that we're facing in Baltimore City, then I believe that we can have some positive outcomes. So I would just end it right there, and then you can ask your question again, Brother Andrew, if you like.
Man, that was powerful. I'm actually speaking through Andrika's phone because my connection is a little crazy, and I can't afford not to hear what you was saying, brother. I mean, first of all, man, let me just thank you, because I heard what you said, and I know that's a thankless job, bro. I know it is, and and I know everybody that heard you speak after 22 years of doing this work in juvenile justice, man. It's very unfortunate, but I will say, I know God has been blessing you because you look great. You look great. And I know God has been with you. And I just want to say thank you, man. Really, really, man, because you are the expert on this line. You are boots on the ground. 5, 6, 7 days a week, you're down there working with families, working with young men. And you started off by speaking about, you know, the pain. And a lot of us don't speak like that. You sitting there witnessing this was taking place. And our young men are suffering down there, and they got these, like you said, when you came in, the worst charge was an armed robbery, but now they got double murder, triple attempt murder, home invasion, and the list goes on, carjack, list goes on. And instead of them getting numbers, they getting letters, you know, as far as that time. So, I mean, honestly, brother, I can't thank you enough, man. I can't thank you enough. I can't wait till we get back down there so we can partner. Like you said, we need more communities, more organizations, more hands-on to be directly involved with you and your team, so we can do more together, because you can't do it all. You can't, no matter how you slice it, because we'll think you ain't doing enough. Unless people hear from you, man, be like, man, what Mr. Shipman doing down there? Right. You know what I'm saying? And I just felt your spirit, bro. I felt your spirit, man. So I just want to thank you, man. And just to I mean, we got about 45 minutes. I want you to answer the question. You really answered it, but just take a few minutes, and then what can the outside do more of? I think you kind of answered it, but what more can the outside world do to help these young men from what you see? Because I mean, it's painful, bro, to hear what you just said. What you just said is painful. It's really painful. You know, if you care about, and I'm just going to say it, if you care about Black life, because my 9 years down there, it was 120 beds down there. And every single week, it was 118 young Black men down there. You would think white men, white young guys, or Asians or Hispanic don't break the law. Because you had 118 young men down there, and they was in the 120 beds, the 118 was all Black men. And I'm just being straight up being honest. Mm-hmm. So if you care about young Black men, then that's what we are dealing with. And that's why we're having this conversation, because we need more men like you that care and want to make a difference. We don't need a whole bunch of talkers. Mm-hmm. We need men that care, man. And I feel you, bro. I just had to say that, man. But go right ahead, Rob. Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, all I'll say is that we need community providers that are dedicated and committed to working with young people and with families. Okay. And I know that may sound very general, but from my position that I'm in now as the resource supervisor for the Department of Juvenile Services, I often field calls from folks that somehow get my name and they call me and they say, hey, Mr. Shipman, I'm the ABC program, and we provide all these services, and I want to meet with you to see how we can help the young people in juvenile services. I get these calls all day, every day. The problem I have with it is most of these programs are looking for referrals because that's the way they can make money. They can generate money, okay? And so I have to be able to discern when I'm dealing with someone that is genuine and that really want to do the work, opposed to someone who's just looking for an opportunity to get referrals so that they can build the federal government with medical assistance. Because I would say, I don't know, maybe 85-90% of the families in Baltimore City are eligible or qualify for MA. And that's how they make money. They are able to build medical assistance. And so that's a challenge that I'm faced with at all times. But what I can say is that I have been fortunate to be able to meet with some providers that are willing to do the work and are committed to helping young people and families. And those are the ones that I spend my time with. Those are the ones who I work intimately with to ensure that the service delivery takes place. Just as they describe, when they have program description, and they say they do individual counseling, family counseling, mentoring, medication management, it's my responsibility to make sure that those services, that service array that they say that they can provide for youth and families, that they deliver that service. And I'm going to hold them 100% accountable. And if I discover that the work is not being done and they're not out there meeting these families where they're at and meeting their needs like they say they are, just as their program describes, then they're cut off. I'll expose them, and then they're cut off. I can no longer work with them, and then I just have to move on. So what we're looking for is some good quality programs that are willing to go out and work with young people, work with families, and just deliver the service. Okay, if you say that you can deliver a specific type of service, then the expectation is deliver that service. Okay, and it can't be no excuses. Are we going to reach every family, every child? No. There's going to be some rejection, and that's something that you have to be able to deal with that. There's going to be some children that's going to be resistant and oppositional and that sort of thing, but you have to still continue your efforts to work with these children and families, because otherwise, if you just give up the first time a child says, no, I don't want to deal with you, then you'll have no success. I mean, these children, there's trust issues, and rightfully so. They don't know who to trust or when to trust, they just getting to know you. So you have to build a rapport, a relationship with them. That takes time. That's not going to just happen overnight. You see what I'm saying? And so therefore, you have to be persistent. Someone in the chat was saying consistency. They're absolutely correct. You have to be consistent. The minute you go and visit a family and they slam the door in your face and you turn you go in the other direction, that's defeat. You know what I mean? There's no need for you to even be in this work, because you're going to be rejected. You're going to be turned down. Okay. And so we need providers that are strong, that is committed to doing the work, and is able to persevere through the difficult times, because it's not going to be pleasant all the time. Sometimes you're going to just have to roll up your sleeve and bite the bullet and go ahead and do what you need to do in order to reach that young person. There's so many of our young people have tremendous talent. I mean, I've met so many guys that we've sent to some of our residential programs that have come back with GEDs, some with diplomas. You'd be surprised. Some of these young people, if you sit down and you talk to them, just give them the time of day and talk to some of these young guys. You'd be surprised at how smart these guys are. But you would never know that when you watch the news and you watch TV. You would never think that. You would think that these are like the worst children in the world or something like that. They're very smart. They're very intelligent. They have potential. It just has to be channeled in the right direction. And I'm looking for people that's able and willing to channel that energy that they have and the knowledge that they have. Give them a chance. Somebody in the chat said that everyone needs a second chance. They're absolutely right. Give them a chance. Give them a chance. Expose them to something different. Some of these, I remember, I'll say this and I'll keep quiet. I remember when I was in the choice program, some of these children that like live in Cherry Hill, for instance, have never even left Cherry Hill. Mm-hmm. Only time they leave Cherry Hill, I guess, is when they used to come down to the Mitchell Courthouse, when they had to go to court. I mean, there's so much more out here for our young people, but they need exposure. They need someone to expose them, about the different things that's available to them and show them, you know what I mean, and bring it to their attention. And I promise you, if we all make a concerted effort to do those things, I really believe that we can start turning things around for our young people and families.
Beautiful, man. Man, you said so much, Rob. And I appreciate you, bro. I really do, man. I'm saying this for the first time because, man, I never heard you speak like this, to this magnitude, man, especially the passion, the love, and your commitment, your dedication to our, they our babies, man, they our sons, man, so I just want to thank you again, bro. I'm glad I had an opportunity to meet, to hear this side of you, honestly, because we talk, we've been in meetings, but I never heard this side of you. And I thank God for you, brother, because it's men like this on this line and women that care that, oh, we're going to make a difference because we're not going to give up, you know. So I'm thankful for men like us, because you have a lot of men that gave up, that's tired, that's beat down, and don't understand the mission or their assignment. But thank God for the men, that's panelists on this line right here, that we're going to go fighting, you know. And, you know, my prayer is, this is the work I want to die doing. And I know that's yours as well, because you wouldn't have been doing it for 22 years. So thank you, bro. We had, like I said, we got about 42 minutes, and we're going to give each panelist one more question. But we got a bunch of questions in the chat, but it's been so many, they lighten the chat up. We can't get back. I can't get to the chat. So I know Ern had a question, and Sanaa had a question. Dr. Phil had a question. Hey, Doc, so can you just put a question out there, and we're going to go back to Antonio after that. But can you you had a question, Doc, and we can put it out there to the panelists. So go right ahead, Doc.
Well, I think one of the things several of the panelists say, probably all of them have said, is that there are people out there that have the empathy, that have the skills, that have the experience. And part of the youth fund is, well, there's some funds out here. You know, what is it we could be doing to try to get those connections? It's not and some of the people, we're not talking about even with the grants, are hiring people for 40 hours a week, that we have a lot of folks could be supportive of these young people, but also then continue them, not just as several people have talked about, not just working with them while they're in the facility for whether it's 3 weeks or 6 months, but also being a positive support for them to transition. So, and making these connections from both your experiences or besides the youth fund that people could be thinking about. Are there volunteer opportunities? Are there other groups that people could be getting hooked up with, so that people who have this interest really can be supporting the young people, both the young men and the young women? Because I think that's what a lot of the people are hearing, and a lot of people who are on the Zoom or who are going to be watching the Zoom in the future, they want to do something, but what are some of the ways to be able to do those things?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doc. So, Bro Antonio, can you hear me? Are you on?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead, bro, Cat.
Okay, excellent. So basically, my question for you is, you know, dealing with your transition, and when you, you know, you got out of the juvenile justice system, you got out of Boys Village in Hickey. What can you share with the young people on the line right now, that for their peers, their friends, and the people that they see that's going in and out of the system? What can you share with them? Some signs to look for, some things that they can do if they see their friend going left, and they trying to identify with that, or they not sure how to guide them or what to say, because as I think it was Mook has said that, you know, some of the youth, they know some things that the adults don't know. So we can't downplay that knowledge, especially they are the ones impacting each other. They feeding off each other. Some of them, they don't even talk to their parents or their guardians, and they getting guidance from each other. So what can you share with our young people so they can have information and knowledge to share with their friends, that if they see somebody going left, what can they say to them so they won't end up down there with Mr. Shipman and Mr. Robinson?
Yes, sir. That's a very good question, and a very important question. I know today, you know, I done been in certain communities, and whether it's down Greenmount, Bel Air Road, and then another time was on Pennsylvania Avenue, where I seen 3 brothers that's straight in the streets, and just on sight, on seeing me, they begin to break down and cry. They begin to tears flowing down their face, and it shocked me. And the brothers that's striving to do right, you have more influence than you think. So what I can say is that we cannot think that is weak to say, bro, don't do that. Or just to step in and just, give your input. Because a lot of the brothers, they value you, they admire you. They admire that you're striving to do right. So what I would say is, one, if you see somebody doing something that's wrong, don't be afraid to speak against it. Don't be afraid to encourage them to do the right thing. Because a lot of times they will respect it. And if they don't respect it, you did your job by saying something. So again, it messed my mind up to see brothers that's straight in the streets that I know, that I seen them coming up, and they broke down by seeing me out in the community doing positive work with a suit on. And those thoughts resonate in my mind. What caused them to break down in tears when they seen me? One of the brothers was in a wheelchair. He was BGF. And I spoke to him when he was out there doing his things before he was in the wheelchair. So whenever I go into the community, I got the same routine. I'm going into the community and I'm going straight to the brothers out there that's selling the drugs, straight to the brothers out there that's toting the guns, and I'm going to the families as well. And I'm asking the brothers, do they need any help? Do they need any jobs? And then another thing I'm doing is, because my teacher said that no matter what's inside of a person, the wrong environment can bring the worst side of it. So I'm inviting them to the right environments. So I'm not coming to their environments and hanging out on the block, but I'm invite them out to the gym. I'm invite them out to a positive lecture. I'm invite them out to something that can bring them healing, right? And it's not, and I'm gonna continue to do that, and like Brother Cap said, until I die. So that's what I can say. That don't allow them to bring you into their environment. You invite them out to the environments that's bringing you peace, to the environments that's helping you grow, to the environments that's healing you, and you keep inviting them out. So that's what I can say, bro, Cat.
Oh, no, that was powerful, bro. Thank you, man. That was powerful. I'm glad this being recorded as well, because I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and study them all. But I'm looking forward to going back, because we're going to need this information when we go back inside in the next couple of days. So you'll be seeing us soon, Mr. Robinson and Mr. Shipman. Y'all be seeing us real soon. And so we're gonna go right. We're gonna keep it moving. Hey, Corey, Pastor Corey, we're coming right to you. Question, Corey.
Brother Andrew.
Yes, sir.
Could I, excuse me, Pastor Corey, if I could just ask the folks that are going to present to also speak about the mentality and the spirit that we need to approach young people, and how we need to model that for people, because we are sometimes shocked about how young people behave and the things that they do, but we don't understand why it is that they do what they do. And so we sometimes naturally form a sense of a judgment based on that. And then we think we need to be more stern or more authoritative, but it's really the listener. It's really the compassion that they need. And so can just, as everybody goes, into this last round, I think it also just speak briefly on their thought about how we should be approaching our young people in the mindset that we should come at them with, and how we have to check our own biases. Thank you.
No, great point. Nope, that's fine. And please feel free, brothers, man. This is your, no, you good. This is our format. So you have the right to interject and just do it the right way, like Darius just did. So thank you. I don't want, if you got something on your heart, man, I don't want nobody not to say it. This is the wrong time for us to be trying to shut each other up. You know what I'm saying? So please, no, thank you for that, brother Darius. Thank you. And I got your text, Corey. Doc. We got so many questions in here, man. Listen, I got it. Let me just say this, man. Lisa and her staff, man, and Aaron, and some other leaders on here as well. Man, thank y'all for what y'all putting in this chat room. You all been consistent, and you allowing us to keep the spirit moving. So that means what the leaders are sharing, the panelists are sharing, has been very effective. So thank y'all very much, man. That you don't know how important it is when you dropping words inside of the chat room, and it's been consistent for the last hour and a half. and I apologize because we normally get to the questions at the hour and a half point. And we actually there now. So hey, Doc, if you can go back and you and Andrika and pull out a couple questions, because we want to be respectful to the audience. We got to ask some of the questions. I just want to keep it moving. And then we'll interject in a few seconds. So Corey, I want to get right to you, because this is another important question. This came from what we put together, myself and Doc, with you all. And it's right in line with what we're dealing with. It say finances drives many of the decisions our youth make. How can we create better knowledge about financing and also provide alternatives for our youth, as it relates to financial opportunities?
Absolutely, Cap. I mean, that's a very important aspect of it, because finances are very important, but a lot of times our young people don't understand that the finances, all money does is give you opportunity to do more of what you already do. Let me say it again, because I don't want you to miss it. Whatever you are, whatever you got going on inside, all money does is allow you to do more of that. I'm pausing there because I need you to the young people to really get that. Because if you are a charity person and you give, if you got money, you're gonna give more. If you're a weed smoker and you got money, what you gonna do? You're gonna smoke more weed. So the question is not about finances. The question is, what will the money allow me to be more of? And what do I want to be more of? And that becomes important, because I think and this even goes to the people who are helping youth. All you're going to do is more of what you already do. That's all money does. And so that becomes so important. So I want us, even in the field of financing and helping, we got to classify ourselves into, basically, we're going to be in 4 categories. And I think it's important when we're dealing with youth and when we go and apply for money or how we use money, it's important to understand that you're going to be one of these 4 things. And these are for the people who are helping the youth. You're going to be a narrative shaper. Like, you're going to have kids to come to you that narrative is interrupted because of the circumstance that they have. People will give you money to reshape that narrative to help them get a trajectory to move that narrative correct. Let me come to the young people. Now, if you want to have finances and you need to make money, it all depends on the narrative that what's the story you telling yourself? So it begins, everything, narrative shapers, there got to be people in our lives that is shaping the narrative of who we are and who we can be. And so that's so important. So that goes for people who are helping children and young people. If you want to be something, your moment in this moment in your life does not dictate what you can be. So the finances alone is not going to make it. It's what the finances is enabling you to do more of. So the question becomes, what's inside of me that I'm passionate about, that the minute I put money on it, it's going to be the gasoline that makes it ignite. So, all money is gas. So you can kill yourself with gas if you ain't got the right thing going on inside of you. So the question becomes, are we working on the things that's inside of us so that when we put the gas on it, it allows me to do more of that? And then the second thing is, and I think you're either you're going to be an opportunity creator. If you are in this business of working with young people, you're going to be an individual that create opportunities for young people. And then young people, let me just own this to you and help you to understand this. We already know, let me be the first to admit, we already know that you are the number one influencers of your peer group. Let me say it again. I know that. We know that. There's no, Einstein didn't teach us that. We know that you are the number one influencers of your peer group. But here's the question. How are you going to influence them? What are you going to influence them with? How are you going to use your influence? Because if life and death is in the power of the tongue, then are you going to make your generation live, or are you going to be a part of that death? But you got the power. You got the influence. God gave you the influence to influence your peer group. And the question is, how are you going to do it? Are you going to be an opportunity creator, or are you going to be a dream killer? You have the power. As they call me an expertise, I am smart enough to know who has more influence. I'm giving the power over to you. You have it. I don't have the influence. You do. Now, my job is to tell you that you have the influence and for you to use it. So are you going to be an opportunity creator, or you can be opportunity creator, or you can be an opportunity provider? If your organization is getting money, and you're like, as brother said, you got to provide that service to young people, and even in your own peer group, young people, you can provide a service to your own peer group to help them move forward. And then the last thing I'll say to you is oppositional supporters. It's like whenever we get in life, and this is where it is with young people, we all know this, even as adults, and even all of us reach a point where no matter how well we doing and how much we strive, we reach a brick wall or oppositional point, or a brick or something that pushes us back. And the question is, who are the people we're going to go to? And who are the people that's in our lives that's going to help hit that opposition? Who are that people? And here it is, y'all. Who are the people that we turn to that when the resources are not there can be back to jumpstart us back up again? What kind of resources do we have in our lives? So when it comes to finances, it really starts with who we are inside. And as we take those finances, how we use it as the gas to light and inject the purpose and why we're going and doing what we're doing. And when we do that, I'm telling you, it's going to change everything and how we use our resources. So the resources, not what we do, and it's constantly was said, if you're doing it for the money, then you need to get out of this business. But if the money is the gasoline that ignites you and push you to do more of what you're able to do, because what you do is positive and change lives, then guess what? It will allow you to do that. Yeah. I'm done, Kat. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good lesson. Excellent. We're going to keep it moving because we got a couple powerful questions and we want to get them in. We got about 25 minutes left and we want to get a couple of questions in, but I'm coming right to you, Mr. Robinson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm coming right to you. So had a nice question for you. Okay, here we go. Do we have enough opportunities? And I heard you speak about this, but I don't think you had enough time to elaborate on it. Do we have enough opportunities inside of juvenile facilities so that once the youth are released, they can go straight? And what else? They can go straight. But also another question is, what else can be done? So you can add to that, and then whatever you had on your mind, while you were sitting as well, Mr. Robinson. Thank you.
First of all, to address what Darius stated earlier, is that first of all, you can't be judgmental when you're dealing with the youth. You also have to have an empathy and understanding of the youth in their situation. And more importantly is that you have to understand that words matter. And when you're speaking to them, you don't know what will stick. I think back at my time at Poly, and I saw a student like years later, and he told me, and I didn't remember the kid, and he told me that he remembered that time in my office that I changed his life. Don't remember the kid's name, nor what I said to the kid. So that taught me that when I do speak to the youth, I make sure that whatever I say, it's the truth, and it matters, and I'm giving them guidance. Now, whether they take it or not, that's something. But you know, they wake up when they wake up, and you never know what will stick with a young person. So that's how I interact. I don't even look at their charges. I don't want to judge them. We all make mistakes. I don't know their charges. Um, you know, if they want to tell me what they did, I'll listen. Otherwise, you know, I'm not here to judge. I'm not the person up in the court that's going to make the decision whether they get waved down, whether they get released or sent to placement. My job is to educate them, to make them a better man, to make them a better person. So that's how I see the youth, and that's how I interact with them. Also, there was a question in the chat about RAs. The RAs are very valuable people. Yes, I understand they need training, but they definitely need to be recognized and praised. And I know that I can't do my job without the RAs. And I have a great relationship with the RAs. I make sure that I treat them with respect, and I understand the role that they play, and I don't judge them. You know, I know that when I see sometimes some of the behavior, I will never call them out. I bring them in because I'm not their supervisor. I don't have any authority in that building. All I have is influence. Okay, so I try to use my influence to help people move in the right direction. Now, to answer the question from Captain Andrews, is that there is plenty of opportunities. I know that, you know, right now, there, you know, in this time, there's plenty of opportunities, but we lack some desire. And I do think that, you know, there are ways and for programs to get inside is needed. There's definitely programs that are needed inside the Juvenile Justice Center. Again, like I said, you know, at the time when I first started, it was just the only program that I can recall of was just the Boys Club. I mean, and you're talking about before COVID, you're talking about 110 kids with just, you know, one program. I do believe they do some religion on the weekend, but it's not enough programming happening in these facilities in terms of, you know, mentorships, character education, just proven resource-based program that we know, evidence-based, that is proven to make a difference and to change some of this deviant behavior. And no, we can't do it alone. There has to be a collaboration, and it's not about, you know, the politics involved in all of this in terms of who wants the glory or you know, or the money. At the end of the day, you know, while we're deciding how we're going to, you know, if we're going to be able to get people fingerprinted and able into the building, and all that takes a long time before programs can get up and running, and that costs, you know, lives, that costs people's futures in terms of the youth. So moving to the transition part, yes, there's plenty of opportunities for kids when they leave. Like they need so much. So there is opportunities. It takes a collaboration, and I'm just repeating what has been said earlier. It's just it just requires a collaboration that we have to work together. We're very smart people. We have to figure out, you know, the way. I mean, you know, even though there are some things in place, I'm not saying that, you know, there's ways to improve those things. You know, a lot of times when kids leave, they don't register school right away. So here, you know, when I first got there, this is one thing. When I first got there, kids were saying these grades don't count. And I would tell them, like, these grades do count. But what was the missing piece was that when the kids got out, they would not register, or no one would know what school they went to. So I made sure that the kids knew the process. And I said, and if once you get to school and they don't have these grades, you have the guidance counselor, you call back to the school. You all have this number, and then we connect, and then I get a release of information, and I'll send your transcript to your school. So now the kids realize that the grades do count. But that was just a misstep that wasn't taking place, or if it was taking place, they wasn't clear about it. So I just feel that there's a lot of opportunities for community to do good work with our youth. And that's what's going to take to make a difference, is the community, because when the kids leave us, they go back into community. That's the same community that did harm to them. So we have to figure out ways to help them heal, and allow them to help heal their community as well. The same community that did the harm to them.
That was beautiful, bro. That was beautiful, Mr. Robinson. Man, thank you for that. That was awesome right there. Thank you for that. Thank you. Hey, Darius, I'm coming right to you, Darius, and you can elaborate on what you just said, the question as well. But I want to ask you this question, because this is right in line what we need to hear as well. But what does change? And it's coming from Jay from Let's Thrive of Baltimore. What does change look like after the work that you guys do? What are some impacts you want to see outside of them two questions? Can you see them, Darius? Did you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, because I'm looking at the desktop and I'm talking on my phone because of the Andrika phone, because of the Wi-Fi is a little acting crazy in here. But what does change look like after the work that we do? What does that look like? And then what are some of the impacts we want to see? So, and then you can elaborate a little bit more on the mental piece, or the piece when you talked about the youth, and how we view them, how we judge them in regards to the action they took or their behavior from something they done. Go right ahead, Darius.
I want to briefly just reiterate the importance of training. And a number of people talked about it, but Mr. Robinson in particular, Larry, and then, with the RAs, because they're on the front line and they do, phenomenal work. But one of the ways that we can influence them.
Oh, shit. Oh, what do RA mean? They meant to say that. I meant to ask.
Yeah, I believe it's resident advisors. Those are the staff on the units. Those are the staff at the juvenile facilities. They call them RAs, it's resident advisors. But if they're spending the most time, but they're trained the least, then we have to address that. And one of the ways to, it's important to be like, say a couple of things I want us to, just capture them. We have to be root cause leaders. We have to be root cause leaders. We can't just deal with the surface, like what people present us. We got to go deeper than that. We got to do the research. We have to do the homework. It takes time. You got to really study what's going on. And you got to ask a lot of questions. You have to be prepared. And so part of that is, in terms of the training, we have to make sure that the RAs get the appropriate training, because they need to be able to deal with the mental anguish and the anxiety that they feel and that they deal with in dealing with so many hurt children. 70%, please correct me if I'm wrong if my numbers are not right, but 70% of the young people coming out of juvenile services, young men, have been abused. They have records of child abuse and neglect in their files. One of the reasons why the facility, the two reasons, major primary reasons why the violence, three, that stopped, when the boys club was placed. One was there was a consistency of Black males that were relative. This is what the boys said in their evaluation: relative, respectful, relatable, and consistent. And that is what, Mr. Robinson was talking about in terms of the change in the behavior, because we were consistent, right? But the other thing was we encouraged the facility, the DJS, to hire more men. Do what you got to do to get more men in the facility, because it was 75, 80% run by females, and you have 90, you got 100% young Black males, teenagers primarily, 98%, like Cap said, right? And then the last thing is, identifying the students who had the most violent behavior, the ones who were in the most incidents, and they got put on a unit with intensive mental health therapy. So you think about that, it immediately addressed the crux, because as it's already been said, hurt people, and love people, love people. And so, you know, we've got to make sure that that training is there, because they are carrying the burden of the weight, you know, excuse me, they're carrying that burden, and there's so much pressure that they're dealing with. So I just wanted to address that, because they're feeding, the young people are feeding off of how they treat them, you know, that those words that have power. Back to your question in terms of what does it look like? They look like the young people, first of all, they're independent minded. They can think for themselves. And there's a confidence that they have. There's a confidence that they have, because now they know it's something on the inside of them. Because all of the programming that we do, if we don't impact their families, right? If we don't impact, you know, we spend a lot of focus on the children, the young people, and it's very important, but they have to go back to a home. They're tied to a unit, even if they're on the unit. And we've been in situations where parents have come to the facility to see their children, and they call us over. I believe Kat might have been with me this day doing visitation, and the young brother said, Mom, these the brothers that's been helping me in school, you know, they help me, you know, keep me out of trouble. And when I'm home, they're gonna get me a job. They're gonna help me get a job. And she said, job? What the you mean job? She lost it. She cussed him out. And you could see his face. He wanted to cry, but he was in the, so he couldn't, you know, he couldn't break down, but it crushed him, because the very person that he looked up to, that he loved and would give his life for, just basically put him in a position that she know could get his, he could lose his life. And she was adamant, you ain't got no home. If you go come home, get some job. So we have got to work and deal with the programming, because that's going to impact how our young people feel. And what they need to their sense of self-confidence, they've got to know, you know, they got to be critical thinkers. They got to learn how to make decisions. Playing chess is an excellent opportunity. Young people, take it up on your own. Do you as soon as you can. Ask people, can you get a chessboard? Can you start playing chess? Because it'll help you to start thinking. It'll work both sides of the brain. It'll teach you to be strategic. You'll start thinking about the things, even as you come into the situation, boom, it'll open up for you. You'll start to see what's going on. You'll be able to analyze the whole thing, just like the Matrix. You'll have that kind of control, because that's who you are. That's who you come from. And start studying who you are. If you're doing a program, it should be ancient African history, ancient world civilization. The pyramids are still standing. They were built by people that look like us. They have running water, showers. Just think the magnitude that it took to build that. Who did that? The people look just like you. The images that we see on television, the entertainment, you know, all of that stuff, the music, it all gives us the worst of us. It doesn't give us the best of us. It doesn't talk about how strong we are. The richest man in the world happened to look like us. Massa Musa amassed more wealth, and we went around the world giving money away. We are shown as thieves and robbers and hoodlums and all kinds of negative names that they want to, you know, characterize us as. But do the homework about who we are as ancient African people, so you know who we are, and then we treat each other as such. And the last piece about how we look, in terms of how they look when they come out, they're gonna look compassionate, because they're gonna understand that love people. They're gonna understand the value of love, because finally somebody got to you and was able to show you some love, and you were able to reciprocate it. And you felt good about giving love, because you've been giving love to people that's been hurting you. The people that you trust had turned their back on you. They just stabbed you on the street. Dudes tell you, you know, dudes tell sisters, dudes tell each other, whatever it is to jam you up. Next thing you know, you're in a jam. You can't believe they jammed you up. Your own family members. In some cases, our own parents. And so we got to really make sure that we are focusing on creating positive frames of references for young people. So when it goes down, because that's when you really need it. You really need it when you're in the midst of the storm. You need to know how to get out of a jam. You need to know what's going on. You need to be able to start praying. You need to be like, God, do you divine will, do you divine will. You don't even know how you're gonna make it. But you gotta have something inside of you that lets you know that you're going to make it and that you don't have to take the route that other people are encouraging you to take. So the compassion, young people, these models that are going to come out are going to have compassion, and that's going to be your strength. Like Brother Corey said, you have the power, so they will respect your power because they can feel your spirit, and they need you to change them, but not by talking it, by doing it. Because when they see you working, when they see you got a few different hustles, when they see you ain't doing what everybody else was doing and you starting to progress, then they're going to follow you. They're going to respect that. And if they don't, they didn't respect you in the first place. Like the brother said about being real. Real is taking care of my family. Real is sacrificing. Real is doing what I got to do to make sure that I'm there. What good is being real and I'm dead in the street and my family now got to mourn me. They got to pay for me. They got to, and all the resources that I left and I didn't bring to the family because I was being what was so-called in the street real. So our impact is going to be that when we create these types of models, they're going to replicate themselves because it's the image, it's the presence, it's the spirit. And you see it in Brother Antonio because he stands firm and he ain't wavering not one bit because he was loved by brothers like Brother Andrew. Love people, hurt people, and pushed people. Let me say this about this, I'll close on this. To the people in the field of human service. These are people who are risking their lives. These are people who are away from their families, sacrificing all kinds of things. The people down at the juvenile services, they work 16-hour shifts. Like nothing. When they got family at home, they got things happening with their family and somebody talk to them like a dog. So we must treat people that work in this field with extra special care. You got to love on them. You got to show them that you appreciate them and respect them because they will work for you. But more importantly, they need to be supported and loved too because they got to be able to provide that love. So make sure you go out of your way to do what you can to help them. And treat them with respect and love. And if you're in the kind of position where you one of them negative people and you feel like you got to be kind of negative to get people to do stuff, that is not the way. It's called Positive Coaching Alliance. Go check it out. It teaches you all the most successful NBA, NFL, NCAA coaches. The majority of them, their success is positive coaching. Not cussing, yelling, fussing, thinking you're gonna, scare somebody into doing it. That's not helping people become asset-based. They're learning that behavior and they perpetuate. Love people, love people. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Thank you, brother. Aaron said that's a good way to greet people. Peace and love. Thank you. So, Mr. Shipman, we coming right for you. And wrapping this up, man, I just want to give a strong shout out once again to the Baltimore Youth Fund. And Brother Tafari, I'm not sure if the president is on. If she's on, please let me know so she can share a few words before we wrap this up. But I want to come right to Robert. And Rob, I'll just do this, Rob, because you kind of can add on to what you said, because you said a lot earlier. But this question is from Renee Dupree, excuse me. Trauma-informed training and care is essential. If higher salaries aren't an option, are there other ways to incentivize the RAs to get more knowledge and better training? Now, I know you can answer that question and you can just give us what you think. You got more experience than most of us on this line, some of us put together, but please, give us your last words in regards to what you heard and what you want to share. And then if you got time, you can get to that question because I know you can answer that as well.
Thank you, Brother Andrew. I mean, all I can say is this. So keep in mind the work that I do with juvenile services, I'm more on the community side. I work out in the community, whereas resident advisors basically work in the facility with Principal Robinson and his staff. So we're talking about two different entities within the Department of Juvenile Services. And so what I will say is that when it comes to facilities, the superintendents are the superintendent is the one that really runs that facility. So it's really the superintendent's responsibility to ensure that staff is properly trained, to ensure that there's adequate programming taking place within that facility. That's been my experience thus far with the department. I know I personally have worked with superintendents to try to get programming. I remember when Boys and Girls Club, when the contract was about to expire, I was very unhappy about that happening because I knew that there was already a lack of programming that exists, and the fact that the contract was going to expire. My question was, okay, well, if that's expiring, what are we going to replace with Boys and Girls Club? Okay, and no one can answer that question for me. You see what I'm saying? And so I had a major issue with the department allowing that contract to just kind of run its course without having something in place to substitute for Boys and Girls Club. So what I'll say again is I think it's the superintendent's responsibility. He or she has got to keep a pulse on his or her facility to make sure that it's running at its highest level as possible. And that typically entails staff that are fully trained and adequate program, because we know research tells us that when there's adequate programming that exists in our detention facilities, it cuts down tremendously on the number of peer-to-peer assaults and other type of behaviors that take place in our facilities. I hope I answered the question.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, sir. Yep, thanks a lot. So we want to wrap this up, everybody. Now, listen, I want everybody to know come Friday at 10 a.m. It's going to be a discussion. We're going to be on a Zoom, and everybody will be able to participate. It won't be just the panelists talking to us or answering questions. It'll be a combination of you sharing your thoughts, your views, and how we can get more out of this. Because I mean, this is powerful, right? This was awesome, and we really didn't have enough time, but we want to respect time, But I could have did another hour with this right here, easily, because the guys only really spoke twice, and you see how time flies, man. So when you got real people doing, answering real questions, real living things real living situations that we dealing with every single day, this is the kind of response you're going to get, man. And I know we easily could have did another hour on this with our eyes closed. I just want to thank Brother Antonio, Brother Darius, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Bonds, Mr. Shipman. And then I also want to thank once again, Brother Tafari, man. It's been an honor. I want to thank all the guests, Let's Thrive and Aaron, Baltimore Brothers. I missed a few people, Kyrie. I missed a few people, man. So please forgive me. Just thank everybody, man. This was awesome. You'll have an opportunity to register for Friday. It's from 10 to 12. And please, invite other people. Tafari, you have anything before we close out?
Yes, sure. I can chime in really quickly. Just again, want to say thank you so much for fantastic work. Good brothers, good workers. We are all we got and we're all we need. And so it's so important to do that. One of the things that I'm really inspired by coming through the conversation, because I don't just work at BCYF. I live in Chicago now, but I spent a lot of time in Baltimore. I always tell folks I became a man in Baltimore. That's why I first got introduced to places like Everyone's Place bookstore, to organizers like Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle. And so for me, I'm thinking about the work of the late sociologist Amos Wilson. And if you're not familiar with him, please check him out. But two books come to mind. One called The Falsification of African Consciousness by him, and then another one called Understanding Black Male Adolescent Violence are two really good reads. And one thing that I believe Pastor Corey brought up that reminded me of some of Amos Wilson's work was in working with young people and just in life. Amos Wilson talks about this concept of two lows and one high. And it's a low motivation to achieve that's socialized, and low social extension, and a high dependence on oppressive systems. And so how do you combat that? The flip side of that, low dependency on oppressive institutions, preferably none, high social extension, and a high motivation to achieve. What helps facilitate those things? Community. So even when I work with young folks here in Chicago and other spots, one of the questions I ask them first is like, who do you know? And who are your friends? Who are your circle? What's that? Okay, what do they do? Oh, y'all just all do the same thing? All right. Do you know anyone that does this? Have you heard of anyone that does that? Do you know? So you just start to expand the notion of, oh, wow, there are people in the world that do a lot of different things. And it's like, yeah, go connect with them. You may be surprised. Be curious about the world around you, because you'll be surprised what you encounter. And you might find something that you'll fall in love with for the rest of your life. And so when we're working with our folks and we reflect on our own experiences that make us where we are and who we are, which has been just really on display this evening, thinking about who are the people in our lives that were a little unique or a little different, that pushed us to think about and consider different things. And that's just another arena to tap into. But no, I just want to say also from BCYF, that it's been an absolute pleasure to do such necessary, extraordinary, and really powerful work over these last couple of months from the range of subject matter that we've touched on. And like we've said numerous times, in a lot of ways, this work is just beginning, because these are kind of the connecting points, or rather just continuing. We want to say just beginning. But now with new folks, hopefully they get in. So if you were moved by something that you saw tonight, don't keep that to yourself. If you were moved by any of the sessions, don't be shy about sharing. Like that was what's up. As I often say to some young folks, say don't be too cool that you can't show that you appreciate something. And so, just wanted to share those things. I thought it was just a wonderful discussion. Please register for Friday's event, the small group session where you'll go deeper into this. Please fill out the post-event survey that Dr. Phil and others have put in through the evening. And again, I also want to thank the brothers that are on this call who have put in the work and the time to, get and grab and love our people. So thanks, y'all.
Oh, beautiful, bro. Thank you. Yeah, this has been awesome, man. I can't thank y'all enough, man. Thank you, brother. Man. So look, see y'all Friday at 10 o'clock. Man, please have a good night. Get some dinner. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love, family.
Peace.
Thanks, Dr. Phil.
And you can shut off the recording.
Yep, doing that now. Boom.